Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to Yarn Purpose. Today I have another designer chat for you. And in this video, I want to talk about determining your rates as a knitting and crochet instructor. Hey everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back. In my last designer chat, I talked to you a little bit about breaking into teaching as a knit or crochet designer and told you some of the places that you can look for opportunities. But what I didn't talk about in that video is how to figure out how much you should get paid. I mentioned in that video that at most conventions and shows, not all of them, but most of them do have predetermined rates that they are going to pay you for going there to teach. And like I said in that video, you can go on those different festivals and shows and conventions websites and find information. Some of them you can even find the rates that they are going to pay you. Some of them you don't find that information out until you're accepted. But the information is out there if you do go look for it. And to be honest, that was sort of the way I determined what rate I wanted to charge when going to yarn stores and knitting guilds. And so there's a few different ways that you can structure how much you want to get paid as a teacher when you're going to a shop or a guild. I've written a few of them down just so I wouldn't forget. So you have to just really figure out what works for you. I'm going to tell you sort of the different ways I've seen it, and then I'm going to just share a little bit about my experience with it. So the first way you can do it is per hour per student. So like, let's say you have a 3-hour class on lace or something. I mean, I have a lot of 3-hour classes on lace. So let's say you have a 3-hour class on lace and you're going to charge so much money per hour per student. Now you have to decide what that rate is. I'm not here to tell you what you should charge, but let's say, I'm just going to say $5 per hour per student because that's easy math to do in my head. So that means that if you have a 3-hour class, you're getting $15 per student, right? And so this can work really great if you're going to a yarn store and the class size kind of can vary, you know, especially if you're going to the same yarn store over and over and you're teaching different classes and the class size can vary. It can be a good way to structure how you're getting paid. Where I would caution you is that if you end up having a very low enrollment in that class and you still end up going to teach, you really have to figure out if you feel that you're getting paid fairly. Because if you're getting paid $5 per hour per student, say, that's $15 per student, right? So if you only have 3 students, that's $45 and that's $15 an hour. And that doesn't include the time that you have prepared to get ready for class. That doesn't include that you probably had to print out your own handouts. So you have to decide if that model is going to work for you. I started out with that model and I ended up deciding that it did not work for me because, and this is just my personal experience, I just found with a couple of different places that I went to go teach, like they didn't have a lot of incentive to try to fill the classes I felt. And so I ended up, like, some of my classes, the enrollment was low and I felt like I really wasn't getting paid fairly for the work I was putting into it. Now, like, you know, as time has gone by and you can, you know, you become more experienced and you can charge a little more, then yes, maybe that model will work. But for me, very early on, I sort of realized that that model did not work for me. So the other thing you can do is sort of have like a tiered rate. So you can say if it's under 10 students, my rate is this amount of money per hour. And if I have over 10 students or whatever, my rate is a little bit more. I've seen a lot of conventions be structured that way. So that is an option too, especially if you're going to, again, like yarn stores, especially I think that that model could work. Sort of saying, okay, if I have under 10, it's this price per hour. If it's 10 to 19, it's this price. If it's 20 and up, it's this price. You know, and that could be a great way to structure your classes as well. I have only ever been paid in that way if I have been teaching at a convention that was how their rate was structured. And then the other thing you can do is have a flat per hour rate. So you can say, I charge $100 an hour per class hour regardless of the number of students I have. And so I do see a lot of designers going that route. It just makes it easy. Like, you're getting paid what you believe to be fair, whether you have 5 students or you have 20 students. So that works great for a lot of people too. Then there is the way that I do it. And I had talked to some other experienced teachers over the years, and once I switched my model to this has worked much better for me. Again, this is not for everybody. I charge a flat per day rate. And so basically how it works is I will come teach for 3 hours, or I will come teach for 6 hours, occasionally a little bit longer. And it's one price. So most of the time what ends up happening is I go and teach for 5 to 6 class hours for that rate, because most people don't want to pay for just 3 hours the rate that I charge. It's like more worth it to them if I'm there for 6 to 8 hours, if that makes sense. I found for me that was the best way to be paid what I believe to be a fair rate. So regardless of the class size, regardless of how many class hours I'm teaching, I just get paid one flat rate. And so for me, that has worked. And basically how I determined my number, I'm not gonna share it on YouTube. But how I determined my number was by sort of thinking about all these other ways that I could structure how much I get paid. I thought about when I did go in research or did have the opportunity a couple of times to go teach in a like convention or show setting, what I was paid there, and then that's how I determined my rate. The other thing that I think that is so critical, and again, this really changed the game for me, is get a deposit. Because what was happening to me a few years ago was that I would schedule these things, especially to the places that were local around, like that I was driving to, not necessarily, or like didn't need a hotel stay. What was happening was that they weren't really necessarily trying to sell the class that hard, but then I'm reserving that date for them. And then a week before they'd say, oh, well, we don't have enough students, we're going to cancel. And here I am saving that date on my calendar. I could have been, teaching somewhere else or like going out and doing something fun in my like social life. And then they just canceled. And so for me, I found once I started accepting a deposit that all changed. I literally never had that happen ever again, because now that yarn store or that guild has paid a little bit of the money to me already. And if they cancel, they don't get it back. So there are situations where I would give it back, but if you're just canceling because you didn't fill the class, you don't get that money back. And so that really helped me keep the dates. Like, my classes always are full, the stores are always promoting things and the guilds are always promoting things on their end. So again, like I take like about maybe 30% or so. It's just like a flat amount that I take no matter where I'm teaching. Even if I'm teaching for 2 or 3 days, and so that's a larger chunk of money they're going to have to pay me in the end, I still just always take the same amount for the deposit. That's just me personally. But for me, that really sort of changed things and really helped keep those dates set in stone on my calendar. So I just wanted to like throw that out there too in terms of determining your rates. So like I said, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. I mean, I probably could like talk about this all day if I wanted to. You just really need to sit down. Like, it really took me sitting down with a piece of paper and a pen and like writing all these different scenarios out and just figuring out which one worked for me. Every couple years, I bump my rate up by $50 or whatever for the day, because if I had a regular job, hopefully I would be getting a little bit of a raise every year or so. Again, that's just what works for me, the flat per day rate. And so that's how I do things, but there are a lot of different ways you can do it. I know a lot of people who do it a lot of different ways. So I would love to know your comments down below if you are a teacher or you're interested in teaching, or if you are a yarn store or part of a guild that's had somebody come in. I don't need to know what anybody's rates are. That's what people get paid is you know, their own business, but just, you know, how you like to structure it, I would be very curious about, because like I say, in every single one of these, I'm always just wanting to know what everybody else does. So that's it for me for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you'd like to know a little bit more about teaching or how to like develop a class or anything, definitely leave a comment down below too. I can, you know, add another part 3 to sort of this teaching part of this designer chat. I'd be happy to do that. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos from me, including more designer chats, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. And if you want, you can turn on notifications to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I hope that everybody has a great day and a good week, and happy knitting and crochet. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.